There's a moment, quiet, uncomfortable, when you realize your goals aren't failing because you're lazy. They're failing because your life keeps outpacing your willpower. Every week you swear, this time will be different. Yet the same cycle repeats. Motivation spikes, crashes, disappears. And deep down you wonder, what would my life look like if I finally stopped depending on moods and built a system that actually carries me, even on the days I can't carry myself? If that question hits you harder than you expected, keep watching. Because whether you admit it or not, you're tired of restarting. Tired of watching your productivity collapse the moment your energy dips. Tired of feeling like your mindset is strong on Monday and gone by Thursday. But here's the truth no one tells you. Discipline isn't the problem, your system is. You've been fighting your brain instead of designing an environment where personal growth becomes automatic, where mental focus isn't a miracle, but a side effect of structure, where time management finally feels like something you control instead of something that controls you. And that's exactly what this video will give you. Not motivation, but architecture. Not hype, but a blueprint. You'll learn how to live better by creating systems that make progress inevitable, even when you lose motivation every week. Systems that turn your goals into identity, your routines into momentum, and your life lessons into actual, visible change. If you've ever felt overwhelmed, inconsistent, or stuck in the same patterns year after year, this is the turning point. Stay quiet, stay sharp, stay in progress. At some point, you realize that depending on willpower is like trying to power your entire life with a flickering flashlight. It works for a moment, then dies when you need it most. And that doesn't mean you lack discipline. It means you're human. Your brain was never designed to run on endless motivation, but it was designed to run on patterns. That's where real self-development begins. When you stop worshiping motivation and start building systems that quietly carry you toward personal growth, mental focus, and a stronger mindset. Stay quiet, stay sharp, stay in progress. A system builder doesn't wake up hoping today feels inspiring. You wake up knowing the environment you created will guide you forward. Maybe you place your journal on your pillow so you see it before bed, or prep your gym clothes the night before so the decision is already made. These aren't small tricks. They're strategic cues that turn discipline into something automatic. Productivity stops feeling like a wrestling match and starts feeling like a path of least resistance. This is how you learn how to live better without burning out. Over time, you notice your most productive days aren't born from motivation spikes. They come from clarity and repetition. When your system is stable, your mind stops fighting itself. You waste less time negotiating with your emotions and more time following a structure that supports your bigger goals. Time management improves because the mental load drops. Discipline becomes architecture, not punishment. Your mindset gets quieter, sharper, more intentional. Exactly the kind of personal growth people wrongly attribute to talent. And here's the interesting part. Once your system starts carrying you, you begin wondering what would happen if you wrote your intentions down with clarity instead of leaving them floating in your mind. It's almost like your brain is preparing you for the next level of this journey, making the shift from mental intentions to written commitments that reshape your reality. Writing things down isn't just a productivity trick, it's cognitive engineering. The moment you put your goals on paper, your brain sharpens, mental focus strengthens, intention becomes direction. Research shows writing increases achievement rates significantly. But what truly matters is how you feel when you see your thoughts inked into reality. It's the first act of self-development that turns a vague dream into something you can actually touch. And that clarity becomes the oxygen of your personal growth. Vague goals collapse under pressure. Read more, save money, get healthier. They sound admirable, but dissolve the minute life gets busy, so you shift to specifics. Read 20 minutes after dinner. Save 10% every Friday. Walk for 15 minutes before checking messages. Now your brain knows exactly what the action looks like. Discipline feels lighter because you've removed ambiguity. This is how productivity becomes sustainable, and how to live better becomes a matter of structure, not hope. When your goals are on paper, they act like a mirror you can't ignore. You can finally see when your behavior matches your identity and when it doesn't. If you write, become more financially prepared, you might pick up the psychology of money or follow a simple index fund strategy. If you write, improve time management, you might start using a red, yellow, green system to track your days. Written goals turn life lessons into instructions. They connect intention to execution. But as you write more clearly, you notice something deeper. Goals have a ripple effect. Improving sleep affects your discipline. Strengthening relationships affects your mindset. Managing energy affects your productivity. And when you ignore these intersections, even the clearest goals crumble. This realization is what pulls you into the next stage, seeing your life as a connected system and anticipating the obstacles that will inevitably show up. When you zoom out and view your life as a whole, everything starts aligning. Your goals aren't isolated, they're ecosystems. Your energy affects productivity. Your environment shapes discipline. Your relationships influence your mindset. Suddenly, self-development feels less like juggling and more like orchestration. You begin understanding how personal growth actually works in the real world, not through isolated hacks, but through integrated systems that respect how your brain and lifestyle interact. And with this holistic view, you start practicing something most people never do: mental contrasting. Not just imagining success, but pairing the vision with the obstacles that could sabotage it. Low energy, emotional dips, unexpected chaos, the endless digital noise pulling at your mental focus. Listing these obstacles doesn't weaken your mindset, it strengthens it. It prepares your system to survive reality instead of fantasy. This is how you learn how to live better with fewer illusions and more intention. Think about it. Committing to morning workouts but ignoring your midnight scrolling habit is a setup for failure. Promising to study daily while your phone buzzes every 2 minutes isn't a discipline issue. It's a design issue. When you anticipate obstacles before they strike, you finally create productivity systems that work on ordinary, imperfect days. Time management becomes proactive. Your discipline becomes strategic instead of emotional. And your personal growth stops depending on how you feel. And here's the breakthrough. The more obstacles you map, the clearer it becomes that your system must be built for your worst days, not your perfect ones. This realization naturally leads you into the next shift, learning to design a system that thrives even when you're tired, stressed, or unmotivated. A system built for repeatability, not perfection. At some point, you realize that most goals fail not because they're too big, but because they're built for a version of you that only exists on your best days. And let's be honest, those days are rare. Real self-development comes from designing a system that still functions when you're tired, stressed, or mentally foggy. When you stop relying on the perfect mood, productivity becomes sturdier. Your mindset shifts from forcing discipline to designing for it, and that single shift accelerates your personal growth like nothing else. Think about the habits you want to build. If the system requires deep focus, a perfect environment, and unlimited energy, it's going to collapse the moment life gets messy. So you redesign the structure. Instead of studying for an hour, you commit to 10 minutes. Instead of journaling a full page, you aim for 3 sentences. Instead of waiting for the ideal moment to work out, you walk for 5 minutes right after leaving the house. Repeatability beats intensity. This is how you learn how to live better, by lowering friction, not raising expectations. One of the easiest ways to reduce friction is by adjusting your environment. If you study at the kitchen table, but that space reminds you of noise and chores, move your work to a clean corner of your bedroom. If your workouts die at night, switch them to the morning before your mindset gets hijacked by responsibilities. Productivity is never just about effort, it's about design. When the environment supports the behavior, discipline becomes a byproduct rather than a battle. Time management begins to flow instead of fight you. And the more repeatable your system becomes, the more your mind relaxes into it. You stop negotiating with yourself because the path of least resistance already leads to the actions you want. But there's another layer to this. Consistency isn't just about repetition. It's about regularly checking whether the system is actually working. That's where the next breakthrough begins, learning how to monitor and revise your progress with clarity. When you start reviewing your goals consistently, something powerful happens. Your brain begins to filter the world differently. This is your reticular activating system kicking in, the same mechanism that makes you suddenly notice a car model right after you think about buying it. By revisiting your written goals daily or weekly, you train your mindset to identify opportunities, patterns, and shortcuts that were invisible before. This is one of the most underrated life lessons in self development. Progress accelerates the moment you consistently look at what you're trying to build. A simple ritual can completely reshape your productivity. Maybe every Sunday evening, you sit with a cup of tea and review what moved you forward, what held you back, and where your mental focus drifted. Nothing complicated, just honest awareness. You might use a red, yellow, green system, marking your habits as off track, yellow, in progress, green, aligned. It's amazing how much discipline improves when you visualize your behavior. Time management becomes clearer because the data is no longer emotional, it's visible. And here's the insight most people miss. Reviewing your goals doesn't just keep you accountable, it keeps you conscious. It stops you from running on autopilot. When you see 3 red marks in a row, you can't lie to yourself anymore. When you see green, you reinforce identity. This is where personal growth becomes tangible. If your goal is to read more, you don't just intend to. Your weekly review will show whether you actually picked up Atomic Habits, or Deep Work, or any book that teaches you how to live better. Awareness becomes momentum. But the beauty of reviewing your progress is that it naturally leads to problem solving. Once you know where the system breaks, you begin seeing exactly where adjustments need to happen. That's when you start creating powerful contingency plans, tiny safety nets that keep your discipline alive even when life doesn't cooperate. And this shifts you into the next stage, learning how to solve obstacles at the root so your system becomes unbreakable. At some point, you realize that success doesn't come from avoiding obstacles, it comes from preparing for them. Contingency plans take the pressure off your discipline because they give your mindset a softer landing. Instead of aiming for the perfect workout, you create a backup. If I'm exhausted, I'll walk for 10 minutes. Instead of forcing an hour of deep work, you give yourself 5 minutes of focus. These small commitments keep your productivity alive even on low-energy days. It's one of the most practical life lessons in self-development. Flexibility sustains personal growth. But contingency plans are only half of the story. The other half is learning to spot the root cause behind your repeated struggles. If you keep skipping workouts, maybe the real issue isn't discipline, it's sleep. If you can't concentrate during deep work, maybe your phone is the villain, not your willpower. Root cause thinking helps you understand how to live better because it shifts your attention from symptoms to structure. You stop reacting to surface problems and start redesigning your environment so the problem disappears entirely. This is where most people don't realize they're caught in a digital hangover without even noticing it. Their mind feels cluttered, their days feel rushed, and every week starts with the same sense of chaos. When your internal system is overloaded, no habit survives, not even with the best intentions. That's why having a weekly reset routine is so powerful. It clears the mental residue before it becomes sabotage. And if you've ever felt that constant fog or the sense of starting from zero every Monday, you already know exactly why I wrote the Digital Hangover System. It teaches you how to break this cycle by resetting your week and regaining control of your productivity before it collapses. And the moment you begin eliminating root obstacles and designing backups that keep you moving forward, something shifts. Your life becomes predictable in the best way. You stop fearing setbacks because your system already knows what to do. But the deeper transformation still waits ahead. The moment you learn that goals stop feeling heavy, the instant they become part of your identity. And that's exactly where you're headed next. Sooner or later, you understand that goals only stick when they align with who you believe you are. Identity is the engine behind discipline. When you tell yourself, I need to work out, the task feels heavy. But when you shift to, I'm someone who takes care of their body, everything changes. Your mindset starts working for you, not against you. This is one of the deepest life lessons in self-development. Identity creates behavior, not the other way around. And once you step into that identity, personal growth accelerates effortlessly. Think of the habits you want to build: reading, exercising, studying, saving money. When you attach identity to them, productivity stops feeling like punishment. I'm a reader. I'm a disciplined person. I'm someone who protects their time. These statements reshape your mental focus. They remove negotiation. They silence the inner resistance that comes from seeing yourself as the same old version trying to force new habits. Identity based discipline feels lighter because it becomes a natural extension of how to live better. And identity builds itself through evidence. Every small action is a vote for the person you want to become. If you write for 3 minutes, you're a writer. If you read one page, you're a reader. If you meditate for 60 seconds, you're someone who cultivates mental clarity. These micro wins create psychological momentum. They shift your time management, your productivity, your discipline, not because you're trying harder, but because you're finally living in alignment. Personal growth becomes a reflection of who you are becoming, not a struggle to escape who you were. But here's the twist: identity isn't fixed, it's a system you refine. And once you realize this, you start seeing that building the unstoppable you isn't about perfection, it's about iteration. A process of testing, adjusting, and strengthening your systems until they naturally reflect who you want to be. And this leads you to the final turning point: the reminder that becoming unstoppable is less about intensity and more about continuous refinement. At the end of the day, becoming unstoppable isn't about creating the perfect system. It's about refining the one you have. You're not supposed to get everything right on the first try. Systems evolve the same way you do, through testing, failing, adjusting, and trying again. So if something in your routine collapses next week, don't call it a failure. Call it feedback. That's how real self-development works. Every adjustment strengthens your discipline, your mental focus, your mindset, your ability to actually manage your time instead of being swallowed by it. But here's the real question. Now that you know what to do, will you actually do it? Will you build the system that carries you even when you lose motivation? Will you rewrite the patterns that kept you stuck? Or will you let another year slip by repeating the same life lessons instead of living a better version of them? Your personal growth starts the moment you choose action over intention. So pick one part of your system, just one, and improve it today. Tomorrow becomes easier when today becomes deliberate. And if this video helped you see how to live better through structure instead of willpower, make sure you subscribe and turn on notifications. We upgrade your mind, one idea at a time. But before you go, there's something you need to watch next. Knowing how to build systems is powerful, but if you don't understand how to trick your brain into extreme productivity, you'll still be fighting your own biology. That's why I made a full breakdown in the video right here: how to trick your brain into extreme productivity, no motivation needed. Don't stop your progress halfway. Stay quiet, stay sharp, stay in progress.